Hello, my beautiful anomalies, and welcome back. I'm Estrella, your lovely host, and today I bring you a story that is a comforting yet sad one. And I'll dub the story One Last Cigarette, a tale of a singular cigarette and an old friend. Let's get into it. Leonard Parks, or Lenny for those who knew him, was 68 when he had passed. He was formerly a factory worker and Vietnam veteran. He lived in a subsidized housing complex in Baltimore. He never had any children and was married but once to his only love, Gertrude, or Gertie. They both went to high school in Baltimore, and even though Lenny wanted to go to college, he was shipped out to Vietnam to fight the war. Gertie was a stunning cheerleader in high school, and Lenny didn't think he had a chance with her, but from accounts from the few friends that Lenny still had that Gary had compiled for us, he is the only one that had made her laugh so hard when she shot milk out of her nose. And when they had graduated high school, they had gotten married shortly after. Lenny was then shipped off to Vietnam, where he was on a few tours and inevitably fought in the Vietnam War. And he really didn't like talking about his time over there, not even to his wife. And my own grandfather served in the army, and he was in the Vietnam War as well. And even to the end of his long life, he didn't talk about it either, and I don't blame either one of them. I'm sure there were just unexplainable, terrible things that happened, and it just scars you for life. And before Lenny was sent overseas, they had bought a house on a 2-acre plot of land in the country. It was a fixer-upper, but that didn't stop Lenny and Gertie from seeing its true potential and renovated every inch of that space to accommodate for each of their wants and needs in a house. It had a beautiful wraparound porch with a Four Seasons room, and Gertie really loved that part about the house. And she would go up to the front porch and with her cup of coffee and watch the sunrise with Lenny, and that was their little slice of heaven. And even though they didn't want any children, they never said that they didn't want any fur babies. And growing up, Lenny had always loved the Greyhound breed, and Gertie loved the Border Collie breed, and they planned had plenty of land, so they decided to get both. And Lenny's dog Penelope was a 4-year-old retired racer, and found her while seeing an article in the morning newspaper about adopting retired Greyhound racers. And I really love that as an option to do that. And I've always gone by the motto of adopt, don't shop. And there are way too many animals in shelters that need homes, and it's just honestly really sad. And I would personally love to adopt every single one of them if I had the space. And every animal needs love and compassion. But enough about me. Let's get back to the story. Gertie adopted her dog Franny from the local animal shelter. She was a stray dog that animal control had picked up a few weeks before Gertie came and found her. At the time of the pickup, she had guessed her age would be around 3 or 4, but weren't entirely sure. And she said she was just dropped off on a country road and found her way into town again, searching for other owners, they think. See, that kind of stuff just breaks my heart and just makes me so angry. Like, how can you do that to a part of your family? I really honestly just don't get it. And Franny was the first and only pup that Gertie saw that day, and she didn't even bother looking at the other dogs that were there. There was just an instant connection between them. And by this time, Lenny had Penelope for only a few months before adopting Franny. The two pups immediately got along and started playing tug of war. They even started a round of fetch within the first few hours of meeting each other. So it's just so freaking adorable. It's like they have had been friends their whole lives. But Penelope lived to be 15 years old before she passed away, which is the typical lifespan of a retired greyhound. And Franny also lived to be around 15. She loved Penelope so much it just broke her heart to have her gone, so she went soon after she did. I'm sorry, guys. This whole story is just heartbreak after heartbreak, but let's continue. Gertie passed away just a few years before Lenny did from breast cancer. Lenny was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer at the same time his wife had passed from her cancer. And going through chemo, radiation, biopsies, he was just done, and just all of the tests and poking and prodding the doctors did at every visit. And I don't blame him. I've seen my grandfather go through chemotherapy and radiation, and it's honestly really rough. And with Lenny facing it alone, I can't imagine how he might have felt. Have any of you had a relative or even a friend go through chemotherapy or radiation? Let me know down in the comments and your experience with it. And while you're down there, like, share, subscribe, and hit that noti bell so you don't miss any videos from us. Just trying to lighten the mood just a little bit, but it's about to get heavier. But let's continue, shall we? It was around midnight on April 23rd, 2021. In his Baltimore apartment, it was a cooler night, so Lenny had left a window open to let some fresh air in. Lenny had woken up, and after drifting in and out all day in his lounger, his breathing had gotten so much worse over the course of the past few days. It felt like someone was filling his lungs with gravel and setting on his chest at the same time, and his time was running out. In his tiny living room, there was a coffee table stained with years and years of spilled coffee and heat rings, and he had two loungers, one for him and another lounger next to his in case he had company, which was very rare nowadays. But tonight he had a silent visitor. It wasn't a nurse or a ghost either, although you could maybe call it that. Sitting on the chair next to him like he'd just been there the entire time. Sitting comfortably, just watching Lenny. He was wearing a black suit and hands folded in his lap, face hidden in the shadow. He couldn't tell his age, race, or if he even was breathing, and he didn't say a word, just looked at Lenny, calmly, not creepy or judgy, like he was just an old friend. He then pulled out a small box from his jacket pocket and is a pack of smokes. Now, these cigarettes were old school, unfiltered, Lucky Strikes. He offered Lenny one, and Lenny pondered the offer, and he had quit smoking when Gertie had died, figured he had bought him more time, but turns out he was completely wrong. Lenny took the cigarette that the strange man had offered him, and Lenny suffered from Parkinson's disease as well, so his hands constantly shaked. But when he took the cigarette with a shaking hand, his hand stopped shaking almost immediately, like some sort of miracle had been performed. The strange man lit the cigarette for him. He didn't have a lighter or matches, just a little spark from the tip of his finger. And it was the best damn cigarette Lenny had ever had. And it wasn't because of the tobacco, but because of the silence and the company. Lenny had been so alone for so long, and having someone there in his final moments was comforting in its own right. And even if it was just a complete stranger, they just sat there for a long while, Lenny just smoking and the man just being there, like Lenny mattered to him. Lenny never asked who this person was, and he really didn't need to. Before the man left, he reached out and put his hand on Lenny's hand. It wasn't too warm or too cold, it was real. And then he was gone. Just no sound, no door creaking, just gone. There was a handwritten note of these accounts that Gary had gathered intel, which is how we all know of what happened that night. Lenny didn't know if anyone would really believe him, but to him it didn't matter if they did or not. But if they did read his note, and if you ever see him, to not be afraid and that you aren't alone. A singular cigarette was found in the ashtray next to Lenny's chair, and any smoke traces that the Foundation could uncover didn't match any modern brand. Surveillance cameras in the hallway recorded no visitors between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., and there is also a faint smell of burnt tobacco in the room that had lingered for days. This was an encounter of SCP-4999, a man dressed in a black suit, only there in someone's last hours to comfort the forgotten, the lost, and the lonely. Lenny didn't die in some hospital, no priest or doctor, and he certainly wasn't alone. Whatever SCP-4999 is, a ghost, angel, glitch in reality, it reminds us all over here at Site 30 what we easily to forget. Not all anomalies are threats, some are mercy. There is no containment required. for this entity. SCP-4999 is under the Keter class, which goes to show that not all Keter classes are dangerous, just that they're extremely difficult to contain and don't have a solid understanding of this entity. Due to this unwillingness or inability to show itself before more than one person at a time, and in the immediate death of anyone who witnesses firsthand, it's basically self-containing anyways. Reports of manifestations caught by security camera feeds, photos, and other media are confiscated for analysis. All other witnesses are to be amnesticized. SCP-4999 is humanoid of unknown origin and composition. Its physical appearance varies, however, with dark suit, tie, type of dress to be the only constant. There's very little data on this entity due to its highly specific circumstances that they do appear. And like I had mentioned before, SCP-4999 will only manifest itself in the presence of one solitary human at a time. All of these subjects have been in terminally poor health, critically injured, or on their deathbeds, which this SCP appearing near or within sight of the person no more than 20 minutes before their expiration. However, they will only appear if the person who is dying is conscious and alone. Like what happened to Lenny, and the entity will either seat itself or stand directly adjacent to where the subject is sitting or laying, and they will offer a cigarette from their left jacket pocket. And if the subject accepts, the SCP will place it between their lips, take one for themselves, and light both of them. If they decline, however, the SCP will still light a cigarette for itself. The entity will also make physical contact with the subject as well, whether it be holding their hand, placing their hand on top of theirs, or resting a hand on their shoulder. And the SCP will remain with the person, silent and unmoving until they have passed. It has not been seen to do anything else and vanishes right after the person's death. The cigarette will still be there, however. It's the only physical evidence of SCP-4999. No one thus far has been seen to keep their distance from the entity, and no one has tried to make conversation with it. There has only been acknowledgement of the entity through eye contact or thanking it for the cigarette. There are a few things that are in common in who is visited by this entity, and a few that Lenny covered is his lives alone, military vet, no currently surviving family, few to no mutually beneficial personal relationships. And SCP-4999 was discovered as an emerging urban legend with hospital security footage being spread through the internet and TV programs. A minor disinformation program was put into place to maintain the public image, and SCP-4999 was officially registered on November 27, 1998. The story was sad, yet comforting, like I had mentioned in the beginning. It just makes me want to cry just thinking about it. And I hope you enjoy the story, and I hope you found some sort of comfort. Let us know in the comments about your thoughts and feelings and what SCP you'd like to see in a case file for the next story. And be safe, courteous, and polite out there. Until next time, remember, stay anomalous.